Hey, good morning, class, and welcome back to Lifespan Development. This is week number 5. We are past the halfway point, and so pat yourself on the back. You know, you've made it this far. It means we only have a few more weeks left of this course, and we're going to keep on keeping on. So I really appreciate all your hard efforts over the summertime. I know for many of you, it's hey, you don't have to be here. You could have taken this course some other time, but here you are putting in the hard work in the summer, bettering yourselves, and I think that's really cool. So anyways, welcome back. We're at week 5. I wanted to give you a heads up on a couple of reminders that your application and our next exam number 2, are both due on Monday. And I know that's probably a lot. Some of you are already, I noticed quite a few, you've already taken the exam. Great, you're getting that off your plate. I know I've graded a few of your application papers. Those have been great so far. Again, all I'm looking for is to find 5 concepts from the course that we've covered thus far. So we've covered about half the chapter, or half the course, so you should have plenty of material to work from. You're going to define those concepts in your own words, then you're going to apply it to your own experience. Give some examples of maybe where you've seen these concepts, where you've experienced them. I'd like to see you use a variety, but that's not a requirement. I think the more depth and breadth you can kind of show will really help me. Really, all I want to know is I want to see you're understanding this stuff, and if you can really apply it to your own experiences, that means you really do understand it. You can say it in your own words, and you can apply it to something you've experienced in the past, or something you're familiar with. I think it's a true sign that you know this stuff. So it's a way for you to kind of familiarize yourself with the material in a way that's meaningful versus just kind of mindlessly memorizing vocab terms and words. You're connecting it to something that has meaning to you, which is how learning occurs. So anyways, make sure you get that application paper in. Your exam is due. I mentioned this at the beginning of the course. This course is fast-paced. We have a lot of material to cover over a very short amount of time. This week, I already have our next exam opened up. If you haven't taken exam 2 yet, don't freak out, don't stress, don't worry, even think about exam number 3 yet. Worry about exam 2. But I just need you to be aware that because of this fact, we have 5 exams over 8 weeks. This is the spot where we're going to see 2 exams in a row. And so I'm sorry about that. Just kind of the planning. It's a lot. It doesn't work out that way in a 16-week course, but unfortunately works out that way in an 8-week course. But I know I have a really good group of students that can survive and thrive in this kind of pressure. So I trust that everything will work out okay. But exam 3 is actually now open as well. So if you feel like if you've gotten your application paper in, you've gotten your exam 2 finished, feel free to begin prepping for exam number 3, which will cover chapters 9 through 12. So by now, you've read chapters 9 and 10. This week, we are going to move on and look at only 2 chapters this week. Luckily, only 2 chapters, and those are chapters 11 and chapters 12, which chapter 11 gets into physical and cognitive development in adolescence. This is the chapter where we reach the sort of the end of Piaget's theory in terms of we're going to get to formal operations, which is the last stage of his theory of development. That's where, you're moving beyond some of the limitations that were present in the first 3 stages, and now in stage 4, we start to see, for example, the development of abstract thought, being able to think about things that are abstract, like, prior to this stage, if you were to ask somebody maybe in like the pre-operational or concrete stage, like if you ask a young child, like, hey, what is love? Or, what does it mean? What is war? What is justice? These really big ideas, either they're not going to be able to explain it to you at all. Like they're going to be so confused, like, I don't know what that is. Or they're going to explain it very concretely, like love means when mommy hugs me or something like that. And, you start talking to somebody at the formal operation stage, and you ask, what is justice? What is love? What is things like that, these big ideas, they're probably going to wax poetically about, well, love is like, and maybe, they come up with this sort of soliloquy or poem or something about what they think love is, and maybe if right or wrong, it's kind of how they abstract and think about love, and it just, instead of becoming more concrete, it's more abstract. And according to Piaget, not everybody reaches this stage. We actually have to be environments that actually encourage us to move beyond, concrete operations into formal operations. Basically, we have to kind of of be spurned by inconsistencies in how we see the world and assimilation and accommodation, and move forward in that trajectory. So these stages aren't just like, hey, you turn 12, therefore you graduate into formal operations, ta-da, you're in. So that doesn't quite work that way. You actually have to kind of be motivated to reach that point. So you're going to be reading about that, physical and cognitive development during adolescence. This is a huge time of change. I mean, adolescence is where puberty happens. So there's not only the cognitive changes that are going on, but a lot of physical changes as well, involving sexual maturation, where boys and girls are now developing into adults. I mean, physically into adults, probably not emotionally and probably not mentally, but physically they are capable of now childbirth, of developing children. So it's a huge change. Before this, kind of physical development was kind of in a latent period. Now it's in another period of rapid growth, physically and cognitively speaking. So you're going to read about that. You're also going to read about socio-emotional development that takes place in adolescence in chapter 12. And a big portion of this chapter is looking at identity formation, kind of figuring out who I am, what do I like to do. Adolescents are the years where primarily, identity formation begins, or for some people, it's really easy. They figure out who they are pretty quickly. What do they want to do with their lives? But other people, they're kind of in this moratorium where they're figuring things out. They're not quite sure. They're trying things out, hanging out with different groups, trying out different activities. And so this is really the time of self-exploration for people. So you're going to read about that, specifically looking at it through the lens of Erik Erikson's theory of identity versus role confusion. This is a time where you either kind of figure it out, or maybe you kind of wander around going forward, so to speak. That's kind of how Erikson would think about it, is you establish your identity, or maybe you fall into this sort of confusion about you're not quite sure who you are, and it's delayed a little bit. So you're going to be reading about that, reading about some ideas about identity. That's a huge part of development. So read that, chapters 11 and 12. Then you're going to be ready for the exam number 3. Exam number 3 is open until the 8th of July. So that means, once you finish exam number 2 by Monday, you have a week to take exam number 3, which I think is very doable. It's 50 multiple choice questions. Very similar to our previous exams. They're going to be application based. They're going to be, kind of evenly distributed throughout the chapters. So pretty similar there. So work on that. We will have a discussion this week. We didn't have last week because I wanted you to work on your application papers. But after that, I want us to get back into the discussion and interacting with each other. As I'm recording this video, I don't have one posted yet, but you're not going to see this probably until Sunday. And by then, I'll have something posted. So don't worry about that. I know you aren't worried, but I'll have it taken care of by then. Other than that, I know this is kind of a big week. There's a lot going on, so I apologize for that. Take care of yourself. I know there's 4th of July. If you're going out of town or doing something, make sure you get your discussion posts in time. Don't neglect to do that. Just do it before you go, or be prepared to maybe take your laptop with you or your tablet or something. That way you can stay and interact with the class. I know it's kind of a bummer to do work over the holiday weekend, but hey, we signed up for a summer class. I'm going to be working. I know some of you are going to be working too. So it is what it is. We'll grind through it. We'll rest up. We'll have some time to rest up maybe afterwards, and then we'll call it good. So get your exam in, exam number 2 in, as well as your application paper in by Monday night. Exam number 3 is open until the 8th of July. You'll need to read chapters 11 and 12 before that, covering adolescence, covering this huge period of physical, emotional, cognitive change that many of us can probably remember fondly. G. Stanley Hall talks about adolescence as being this time of storm and stress, and I imagine some of you can probably look back at your adolescence and really you're like, yeah, that's true. Some of you are like, wait, adolescence was actually pretty easy. I didn't have to pay bills, or I didn't have to do anything crazy like, own a house or have kids or all these other things that I have to do now. This is the storm and stress time. So I don't know, some of us will have different perspectives on adolescence, but anyways, I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions at all, feel free to comment on the post of this video, or feel free to shoot me an email. I really look forward to reading your application papers. Again, they're just another chance for me to figure out what you understand about the course, and also a chance for me to get to know you. We don't have a lot of time together, so I like to take the time we do have and kind of understand you all as individuals better. So anyways, take care. Have a good 4th of July, and I'll see you all next week. All right, bye.